Anime Declassified is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hey guys, Joshua Seth here, voice of Ty on Digimon, and you're listening to Anime Declassified.
And welcome everyone to another episode of Anime Declassified, where today we are wrapping up our review of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. To help me finish off this series, I am joined once again by the leader and co-founder of AnimeSecrets.org, the one and only Rizwan Merchant.
Yeah! How's it going, guys? I'm excited to be here. I'm also traumatized right now, but that's a whole other story.
Oh, let me tell you, when I first set you up to watch the show, this was the part I was looking forward to the most, because...
So when I started up on episode 7, I was like, okay, this is fine. It's okay. Episode 8, it's okay. Episode 9, wait, what's going on here? It's still okay. It'll be fine. Episode 10? Excuse me? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So...
Right, and to kind of get people wrapped up here in case, they don't remember or kind of mix everything up together. Episode 6, we saw basically, the first major, blow to the group where they lost both Maine, Maine's girlfriend. They barely got out of that mess, and it kind of left you questioning what was going to happen to the crew. And episode 8 picks up a few months afterwards, where we see David way more swole now than we last saw him. He's chromed himself up a little bit. He's taken over the Netrunner crew, and we see kind of the first mission we see his current mission, our first mission, with David as leader, into a pretty funny, definitely more, how should I say it? It was a breather from the prior episode, especially with how the new guy instantly Star Trek redshirted himself.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah. And for me, kind of, again, going into having played the game, seeing the person who gave him the mission, Wakako, she is one of the main mission givers in the video game itself. And with her, once you do so many missions, you can finally buy a lookalike of the red motorcycle from Akira. So that's why I got to know her pretty well. I just kept doing her missions because I really wanted that red motorbike.
I don't blame you. That sounds like a pretty cool incentive, because who wouldn't want the Akira motorbike in a Cyberpunk universe game?
Exactly.
So it's not, I get you.
Oh yeah. And so, seeing the guy, the newbie that they took with them, David and Rebecca, just fanboy out, oh man, I can't believe I'm going to do this. We're gonna wreck stuff. We're gonna be invincible. And then he almost instantly dies. It was fun. That was a nice fun moment for me.
It was. It was also a little worrisome, because it didn't seem like they had stability then, right?
No, it's very loose at the moment. Because again, Maine had been doing the net running not net running, but the edge running for a while. And this is David's first couple months, still trying to do it. We know he's still basically relying on his, basically travel through, speed up, power up that he has to kind of get him through the trouble. And so, you get a feeling it's a bunch of learning curves, and they said it's not the first time a newbie has joined them, fanboyed out, and then died.
Yeah. No, it seems to have come to norm, and they don't seem to have, mastered it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or, mastered the process for how to keep people going, like how Maine did.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so that was on the David side.
Did you notice that he had Maine's arm implants?
Immediately.
Okay. I noticed. I was like, you took it off his dead body, didn't you? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he said, like, if you're going to die out, call dibs on your arms, and, it's in its own weird, almost, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like a kind of way to keep a memory of his dead friend by wearing his arms, essentially.
I mean, it's definitely a good way to memorialize him, but there are risks that come with it, which we'll talk about in much more detail later on.
Right. And not only was this kind of a, get to know David, but we actually got to find out a lot more about your favorite character, Lucy, in this one.
Yeah. Yes, we did. And that was... So I'll be honest, I kind of saw it coming from the prior episodes. Like, obviously not the details of the child netrunner thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have the inkling that she had a rough childhood. She was probably abused, left to the streets, but this was a bit more than I expected in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really solidified her story. It really kind of gave context for everything that came before it, while also giving context to everything that comes after it.
Right, and you kind of see why she acts as distant as she usually does. Because once you go through that experience, or in her mind, going through that experience of, being part of a team and then just like seeing them all just get nearly all wiped out, due to the dangers of net running, into the old kind of hardware, which, left it up to where malware, viruses, all that kind of digital stuff, could really mess with you or straight up kill you. And so she didn't want to get that close to people, it felt like. And so, just kind of doesn't want to lose any kind of family again. And as we see, that's what she considers David, and that's why she hasn't officially joined his new version of the team either.
Is it that she sees David as family or as a romantic lover?
Romantic.
I think it's the latter, yeah.
It's romantic. But, like, she doesn't...
I just want to clarify, because you said family, I was like, well, hold up, bro. That's not family.
Well, I mean, Maine and Dorio she considered family.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But and so not David.
Yeah, so that's like two big losses in her life.
Yeah.
And so keeping herself distant to kind of not endanger herself and not endanger David, because, we've seen that he would go to save her. And so she thinks, if I kind of stay away and be safe, that's one less thing that David has to worry about. That's one less thing that David has to put his mind and attention to while doing these, while doing the business that the handlers give them.
And I mean, generally, she could be correct. Had David not already gone down the deep end of chroming up as much as he has by taking Maine's arms and all the other enhancements he's done over the last couple of months, because as we've seen in previous episodes, the more of the stuff you get, the more volatile it gets for you down the line, and it'll have a good story plot in the next couple of episodes going forward, so we can save that for then. But planting that seed here now, just so it's kind of said, like, hey, this is a pitfall of what's going on today,
Right. And so what I really did enjoy this episode is it's starting to set up things for basically the finale at this point. It's one of those where, we know this is a shorter series, so they kind of have to set up they started planting the seeds for what would go down in the finale or how we're going to get there. We see the return of Faraday, offering once again crazy job for them. He offers David a job from Militech against Arasaka to see if he is worthy of doing the job that Maine did not do to recover the data that the executive Tanaka was hiding.
Yeah.
And, Faraday also, being a little bit of a slime ball, requesting that David tries to hire Lucy again. Because, again, she's a pretty dang good net runner. And so if anyone could retrieve that data, it'd be her.
Most definitely. And yeah, that's the pitfall here, right? Like, you can't bring her back because she doesn't want to come back. But you kind of need her to be the net runner because I don't think... So at this point, they have a new net runner, but it's not like any of the old cast, right? It's like random people that pick up every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So they need her, but they can't have her. So it's kind of... I understand why they would say, hey, bring her back. She's pretty badass at it, but still, it's a precarious situation for them to have agreed to be Faraday's dime again without having a reliable net runner, because I think that's the most important part of being an edge runner team.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are my thoughts on where we are right now. At least, like, things are going to start heating up pretty quickly, and
right, because another kind of how it ends. There's Arasaka is still kind of investigating a test subject that Tanaka had an interest in, and as soon as she sees that someone's inquiring about that, she immediately offs them. So, in her own sick way, because we know that Tanaka's very interested in David as a test subject due to his kind of endurance of the implant he had, the Sardeskin unit. I could be messing up the name, but the unit that he gave himself in episode 2.
the Sandy.
The Sandy, yeah.
That's what they nicknamed it at some point.
I believe you're right. And so, he kind of kept that record, and that record deleted. You can kind of put one and one together on who deleted it. And so anyone who tries to go after that, Lucy is immediately on the job to kind of off. And that's kind of how we ended this one. And, not to rush through this episode. It was a good one. It was a little bit lighter tone in the beginning, just to give us, like I said, a breather after the end of episode 6. But that breather didn't last long with the start of the next episode.
No. After episode 6, it's like full stop. You're never gonna like have a break again.
Yeah. The beginning of episode 7 was like our last break, because episode 8, the way that one started off, how can I put it? It shook me. Like, it shook me because you're like,
specifically,
it's where David took on the job. Well, we find out later on that he took the job, but David is in an Arasaka office, and director is kind of begging for her life, and we kind of see David just kill her because he's starting to lose his sanity. He's starting to fall under the cyberpsychosis. Because another director walked in on him killing another staff member, and he in turns kills that one. And as we kind of see later on, after he kills her, he sees that this lady had a son, and he starts seeing his mother in her. And so the thing that drove David to kind of the insanity, or not insanity, but to like the breaking point in the beginning of the show was losing his mother. Well, now he just saw that he just did that to somebody else.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of deep stuff. It speaks a lot to the PTSD that David's been hiding and not really dealing with all this time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely precarious for him to be in that position where he is seeing his formerly alive mother and the lady that he killed. And, it's the beginning of the end, to put it lightly.
Mm-hmm.
For me, though, the thing that really stood out for me in this episode is the sign of his hand starting to shake uncontrollably. That, to me, was the biggest indication of, okay, we're going to have a problem. He's going to start going cyberpsychosis at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And when he does that, I mean, GG's,
Right, we saw what happened to Maine.
yeah.
And the way this episode kind of called back to episode 6, or was it episode 5, where he was starting to have the cyberpsychosis stuff, mess with his mind. It was one of the 5 or 6 where Maine is starting to hallucinate some things.
I think it was 5.
Yeah. So he's starting to hallucinate his kind of past life as a athlete, and here David is starting to hallucinate his mother.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do the callbacks to the handshaking, the kind of the symptoms of cyberpsychosis.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, he's going on that path. He's not letting up. I think there's also a scene in this episode where he goes back to get more implants put into him right away after the mission ends.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's no real sign of, him slowing down or even learning the lesson from Maine. He's just obsessed with his one goal, which I don't think they've really made clear his real goal until the end.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it's the one thing I kind of wish they had kind of delved into more early on, if I'm being honest with you, Miguel, because it made it hard for me to kind of care about some of his motives at this point without having that end game motive that he was trying to work towards.
Well, kind of the end game motive we are led to believe is he wants to help Lucy, but so much of it, or so much of kind of the building up throughout the series, is how much David never really had his own plan. He never had his own goals. He was always kind of doing what others asked. He did what his mother asked, which was go to the Arasaka Academy, get yourself a job or graduate, all that stuff. And even when he was talking to Lucy in the earlier episodes, he's always said, be on top of the Arasaka Tower like my mom wanted me to. He was always kind of a follower. And when he joined Maine's group, he's like, hey, whatever you want me to do, boss, I'll do. And so when the turnover happens, we can kind of start seeing what his goal, or you can, and never set out what his goals are because he never really had any. Mm-hmm. David was someone living on by and doing what others told him. And part of the series is him uncovering what he wants his goals to be. Which, when we get to it and when we kind of talk later on, everything meshes together. Because, again, he's like a kid. When we're kids, we don't really have goals except more simple ones like graduate or valedictorian or be head of a club or be captain of something. We don't have kind of the big goals, right?
Yeah.
So I can't really hold that against him. But the only thing that we know at this point, 100% that he wants is to protect Lucy.
Right. And that's a good goal, but it just, to me, it didn't have that impact of, meaning yet. I don't know, maybe it's just me watching it, but I don't know. Did you feel like there was the impact factor of, he felt like you felt that relationship, the pain or the empathy of like what he's going through at that point?
In terms of like the psychosis with killing the staff member, yeah, that one.
That's not a question. That's not under question. The thing more is like him and Lucy and where they are after everything that happened with Maine. Like I don't think I really felt that connection as much as maybe other people might have.
It's definitely because they were saving it for the last episode.
Yeah, and I think if they had started digging into it earlier, like at this point, kind of digging into like, hey, what are they feeling? How are they doing?
Well, we know how they're feeling. Like,
I mean, okay, so there's a difference in knowing because we can logically come to that conclusion.
It's no logic. It's, they don't outright say the love you or really have like the big dang kiss moment. Yeah. But their actions throughout kind of imply that, not even imply, like the way when David got captured by the brainwave dance guy, like how Lucy immediately sprang to action, said, F you to everyone else, I'm going to go rescue him.
Yeah.
We saw her attitude change very quickly from the first few episodes to those. Excuse me. And then how, they have their kiss moment, how Maine is like, oh yeah, you two got it on for sure. I've seen the look of someone who's gotten laid, and that was you and Lucy. So people know at this point. They just don't shove the relationship up in your face because they're kind of doing other parts of the story. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, for this one, you know how they're feeling, like.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's just, it's a difference for me of like, I know what they're feeling, but I wish more were translated onto the screen explicitly and more in your face than we got.
I was fine with that. Yeah, I was fine with the few moments they showed because it's like.
I mean, it's a minor nitpick that I'm giving, but
yeah.
It is something I thought was worth mentioning because a lot of people may not, they may share my concern, and I want to make sure, like, hey, if you do feel that, you're not alone, you're not crazy. But if you do feel it, hey, great, congrats, I'm happy for you. Just, I wish I wanted more from that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the other part of this, I guess we should talk about more is just the Cyberskeleton project kind of in the background going on all this time, because that's a big part of this next couple episodes.
Right. So we kind of learn more of what the objective that Maine was set out to recover by Faraday. And it's basically just enhance cybernetics for more people, because Arasaka and Militech, while they work together, they're not necessarily one and the same. They're completely different factions who, at any given point, would turn on one another to gain more power. And so Militech it wants to know more about this because they don't want Arasaka to kind of get the edge up on them in terms when it comes to weaponry. And so that's why Faraday was hired by Militech to get that information for them. But because of all the setbacks that have been going on, he has yet to get that. And so Militech is calling off the protection they have given Faraday because of his lack of results.
And so he's like doing everything he can to try and get back in good graces, to get the money and to keep, the faith, basically.
Right. Not so much get the money, but Faraday wants to gain power. It doesn't matter who he has to work for or betray. And so when he sees kind of his ticket with Militech basically going up in flames, he crosses sides over to Arasaka. And Arasaka is like, we're willing to work with you and for, letting one of our executives die, but they know that someone's hiding data from them or someone's killing people who are trying to get data from them. And so they're like, you find us the culprit of this, all is forgiven.
Yeah.
And, as this is going on, David's cyberpsychosis, his conditions are starting to amp up more, from just the killing he did, but just from the overuse of the Sandy, it's finally starting to take its toll on him.
And it's kind of cool to see the resilience he's shown to have taken that long to hit this point, given how quick others have hit that point in the past.
Mm-hmm. And, that's also why he's seen as valuable, why Tanaka saw him as valuable, because he's like, this 15-year-old punk shouldn't be able to even use the Sandy even once. And the fact that he's used it so many multiple times without really showing any kind of, up until that point, any kind of like fatigue or cyberpsychosis, we gotta study this guy, we gotta, make him a specimen. And so, we see why he wants to grab him, or why Arasaka wants to get David. And, David, unfortunately, has one of his breakdowns and attacks Doc. And, his guy just cuts him off at that point. He's like, no, I'm not going to help you if you're going to have these breakdowns, because that's risking my life as well.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse from here. There's no... despite what David might think, he's going down a spiraling path that he's not going to recover from. There's no way. And that's not even a spoiler for the ending. It's just the fact of this world that we're in.
Oh, yeah. Night City is cruel.
Yeah. It's not a happy-go-lucky place, if you haven't noticed by this point. If you haven't noticed it, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
Just saying.
And, while all of this bad stuff is happening to David, he, again, tries to recruit Lucy, but, she tells him, I've got something I need to take care of.
Yeah.
First, and, again, causes David to go a little mad. And, while they have this going on, Lucy senses another agent looking for the data for David. And so she goes over to kind of kill this agent, only to find out she got set up.
Yep.
And we have a betrayal here, Kiwi.
Yeah.
That one hurt, not gonna lie. But
it just came, in my opinion, I was so far to left field that I was just left with, wait, why are you doing this, Kiwi? I thought you were one of us. You were supposed to be the good one.
Right? It's like, dude, you trained her. Like, you looked after her and you just betrayed her like that?
And, it comes down to something they say, it's probably in a later episode, but I don't really care about that right now when I'm saying it, but it's part of Night City's vibe. You can't trust anyone, even somebody you consider your closest friend and ally.
It's the cruelty of that world.
Yeah.
And it's one that the show, that the game, and even kind of the supplement or the main material, like the board game and the supplemental material around it, like beats you over the head with. But every now and then I feel like we do need to get reminded of the world is messed up.
100%.
And people, and yeah, we're starting to get to the more hurt, because guys, if you're watching this, you've already seen it. This is not going to get any better anytime soon. We're just at the tip of before we go way down.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a reminder of, in Night City, the one rule is you yourself have to get yourself out. Because anyone and everyone will try to and will betray you and sell you out at any given moment.
Yeah, they definitely will.
And, that's where episode 8 ends, and we jump into episode 9 where, Faraday and Kiwi are interrogating Lucy, and, this is where we find out she's been actively hiding the data on David as the test subject for the new cyberskeleton from Militech. And she was the one responsible, or not Militech, sorry, Arasaka. I said, don't get them confused. They're different factions, and I'm already getting them confused.
But the thing is, if I'm being honest with you, they don't really... They are the same company in terms of, like, what they're doing.
Right.
They're two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Both are just meant to be evil mega-corporate entities that are there to illustrate the point of, hey, corporations suck. They're greedy, they want money, they want what they want, and they don't give a damn about anyone else. And that's all there is to it. I mean, and that's fine. That's what they're meant to be.
And so we find out that Arasaka, because they've been impressed with David's resiliency with the Sandy, wants to test this new cyberskeleton on David. And so when they see this, Faraday is going to offer Lucy and David up to Arasaka. Lucy as the netrunner that she is, and basically the bait to keep David in line, and David, of course, for his test subject potential. And Faraday's like, I'm going to use this, and this is how I get into the company. And so Faraday, still kind of feigning that, oh, David, you work with me, you do the jobs I give you, you do money. He's like, he assigns David the mission to assault an Arasaka convoy, which is going to have the cyberskeleton. And so David, because he can't get Lucy, or he doesn't know where Lucy is at, doesn't know that she's kidnapped, enlists the help of Kiwi. Surprise, surprise. Rebecca, and then our getaway driver, Falco. Haven't seen that guy in a hot minute.
I forgot about him, honestly.
Oh, yeah. And so when they go and sees the main cargo, it's the cyberskeleton itself, and we see it's like basically a mech unit that... Oh, I'm trying to think here where we've seen something like this before. Basically, David's arms and legs just would get completely replaced in this thing.
The best example I can think of is, and it's not a close example, but the best one I can think of is Robotech.
Mm-hmm. I think I know what you're talking about.
Have you seen Robotech or Macross?
Yeah, I've seen Macross.
Yeah, it's Macross. Robotech is the American adaptation.
Oh, I know the story.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. We can talk about it another time, but...
Oh, there is so much to talk about on that. No, I'm trying to think, because there's been things like this in like games and other mech shows where...
Oh my god, what's it called? This is gonna hurt. I can't remember it now. It's one of my favorite video games growing up. Oh, Zone of the Enders.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one that kind of reminded me of this.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it reminded me of the Devil Gundam from G Gundam, where like the bottom half isn't like a traditional mech thing. It's just like this weird monstrosity. Oh man, it's hard to describe, but it basically is just like you ain't got no arms and legs anymore. Essentially, you just get these big bulky items instead.
Yeah.
And, we get some sick action sequences in this one.
It's just fun fight scenes, and I love it. It was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's one thing.
We don't really. This is the first time I really think we got this level of action scenes in the series.
Yeah, and they've really saved up the animation for the action sequences in both this episode and the last one. Because we saw, some decent action in episodes 7 and not so much in 8, but that one was, again, more to kind of showcase the cyberpsychosis breakdown. But this one gets some awesome sequences.
Yeah, and the entire time David's just going further and further down the rabbit hole, if you may.
Mm-hmm. And so, as they seize the convoy and they see the cyber skeleton, Melitech shows up, thanks from a tip that Faraday gave them. And so his thing to kind of show Arasaka is he's basically planning on David to install the cyber skeleton and for David to destroy the Melitech force that's going to go after him as a demonstration of the power that it maintains. And so while this is going on, Kiwi basically starts slipping out because Faraday is impersonating Lucy so that David can install the cyber skeleton, basically say, these guys have me captured, use this to help me get out.
Yeah, that's such a difficult part to watch. Like, I'm going to keep saying that a lot in episode 9 and 10. Like, it's just so difficult to see this entire thing transpire in the way it is because you could stop it if you just acted rationally and not with greed or arrogance like David and them are, like it bugs a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And so as this is going on, Lucy is able to kind of break out for a little bit and warn David about Faraday's betrayal before she gets recaptured. And, seeing that Lucy is for real captured now and, he got betrayed, David puts on the cyber skeleton and just destroys that force.
Dude, he left no mercy.
He did not. It was pretty wild to watch, but we saw what that did to him, to his body.
Oh yeah.
It wrecked him.
He's done.
He got absolutely wrecked, but he still, thanks to his tenacity and just his ungodly endurance, tells Rebecca and Falco, we're going to get Lucy and we're going to get revenge on Faraday. And that sets us up to the finale.
Yeah.
It's 9 was great, ramped up the action, and, it set us up to episode 10. And here it is, the final episode.
Oh man, I don't know how to begin this. This is just insanity.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
It is a heck of a finale. David and his crew go back to Doc, who, gives them military grade suppressants to basically help maintain his sanity, his body, for what he's about to do. And, we're starting to see him break down. And so as they kind of get ready to go save Lucy, he just goes through Melitech, Arasaka, and then Arasaka's security detail, Max Tac, and they are just going for the tower.
It just seemed like the fact that he does that tells me two things, right? So, number one, he's so far gone that he doesn't care about the ramifications anymore. But the other way to look at it is he's doing this out of so much love because he wants to save Lucy that he'll do anything to save her. Even if it means he's going to succumb to the psychosis and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to really decide which one you want to lean in more as like the thing here, because I think it's both.
Right. No, it's both, but it's more wanting to rescue Lucy than revenge. Like,
Yeah.
it is 100% more, I need to rescue her. And we get this amazing, amazing opening sequence. Just gnarly, gnarly violence, awesome driving sequence. You know, they freaking,
The scene where
both,
the van jumps
yeah,
over to Sip,
yep.
that was sick.
There's some Fast and Furious stuff where they kind of hook a van, and they basically just use that as a way to like throw out or destroy the other cars that are chasing them. Like, that is sick. You know, the highway sequence was pretty awesome. And again, they're just fighting their way through to the tower. And, you know, we get some awesome bonding moments, with David, Rebecca, Falco. Rebecca has just having too much fun just blowing things up. But we also see the cyberpsychosis taking effect on David. He's just laughing like a maniac on the way to the tower, and it's like, just has this look of he ain't all there.
He's looking more and more like Maine did every minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think he was going to last as long as he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kept waiting for something to happen, and he just died. But I looked at the time left on the episode. I was like, he can't die yet, or he can't even possibly die, because there's still like 15 minutes left in the episode. So it was very interesting to see this play out, because you can see it very clearly where he's descending into that madness, but he's not quite giving into it. He's continuously fighting it off because of his military-grade immunosuppressants, which he shouldn't have been taking. And honestly, the entire the little story with him and Rebecca made me have respect for Rebecca I didn't have before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rebecca, you know, her character model definitely appeals to a certain demographic. And when I first saw her, kind of in the in the posters, the image post hyping up the anime, I was like, oh, she's probably just gonna be your typical kind of small child look-alike character. Nope, she's definitely a wild card, but you know, she's actually a really sweet character, all things considered. A sweet silent character.
And that's the part I was like, okay, so the entire time I thought she was like this whimsical, crazy. Is it a bad description if I say weird pixie fairy maniac type character? Because that's what I felt of her as.
No, I think that's accurate.
Like, that's just how she portrayed herself, and then seeing her get serious and saying, "I'm doing this because you made me promise to do it."
Mm-hmm.
That gave her a level of empathy that I never thought we would see with her. I thought she was going to remain this little pixie fairy type thing the entire time and just kind of be wild.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But I gotta tell you, like, when he gets to that final serum, dude, that's like when things get really, really serious.
Oh yeah, but if you can believe it, we still have a few things that happened before it, and it's wild to think this episode is like half an hour, but so much freaking happens in it.
Yeah.
So we see a couple other things, like Kiwi starting to have some regrets about working with Faraday. And so as she's getting ready to kind of quit, Faraday's like, yeah, I can't have a loose end regarding this. You know too much. And, not shocking that a betrayer would get betrayed. And so he has his men hunt her down, A, to basically not have a loose end, but B, basically so she doesn't help out our main characters.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, Kiwi, I have mixed feelings on her at this point.
Oh, I mean, you should. Like,
Yeah.
100% you should, because I didn't feel sympathy when she basically got her just desserts,
Mm-hmm.
But at least she did one good thing before she died, and that's tip off David and everyone on where Faraday and Lucy are going to be.
Yeah.
And which, to the surprise of no one, it's Arasaka Tower. And while this is going on, the executives are like, okay, this test of the skeleton's gone on too far. We need to call the big guns. And this is one of the scenes that got me really amped up. Because I know you said you didn't play the games or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I never played them. Never had interest in them.
And so what kind of feelings did you get when they showed Atom Smasher?
He just seemed like this. I didn't know where he came from, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like some character from the first couple episodes I forgot about, but I don't think I had forgot about him.
No, so I'll give you some background on him, and then we can kind of go forward. Atom Smasher is the final boss of Cyberpunk 2077. He is basically just this decked out. He used to be human before he chromed himself out, but he is just the ultimate killing machine, and he is built up throughout the game as basically this unstoppable force. Like, have you ever played Grand Theft Auto?
Of course.
Did you remember when you would get to the 5-star, to the 5 stars on the wanted, and they basically had the military come after you?
Mm-hmm.
In Cyberpunk 2077, Atom Smasher is that final level of security threat.
Oh my god.
Where instead of the military, they send him, and you genuinely, until you get to the end of the game, are unable to kill him.
But you do end up killing him at the end.
Yes, at the end of the game, you do kill him. And so when I saw him there, I was like, oh, that's when I knew David's fate was sealed.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I was like, oh, this is a challenge that he probably is going to end up killing the dude at some point.
Oh, man. And, no, when I saw Atom Smasher, I'm like, oh, F word.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be on. And, you find out that cyber skeleton that David is wearing was meant as another upgrade to Atom Smasher. And so they show that tease off, and for the people who've played the games, like, they know, oh yeah, no, done. But for other people, it's like, oh, he just looks like final boss of the anime, challenge that David's gonna overcome.
Yeah.
And as they get to the tower, David runs out of the immunosuppressants. So the painkiller's gone. And so the crew gets to the security to go rescue Lucy, and they incapacitate Faraday and Arasaka. After seeing kind of all this stuff, they're like, Atom Smasher, go. And oh man, we get the final showdown, and I'm gonna let you take over for this part because I wanted to get your feelings on this.
I mean, look, that final fight with him and David, gets pretty gnarly. And honestly, when Lucy kisses him to restore to sanity for that little bit of time, Miguel, I had a slither of hope. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little slither of hope that, okay, maybe this will end happy. We'll have a happy ending where David and Lucy survive. And maybe Rebecca survives. But no.
Oh, no.
No.
So we get
No.
Atom Smasher coming into Wreck, and the first instance that we know this guy is for real is when David goes to activate the Sandusky speed up, and Atom Smasher just matches him.
Dude.
Like, instantly.
I kind of expected that, though.
And honestly, like, when David says, wait, you can do this too, and Smasher's like, this is a simple upgrade. Like, this is nothing to me.
Yeah. That's when you know it's game over. CCs,
And also, as the fight is going on, they get blasted out, and the kiss happens, that song that starts playing in the background.
What is that from?
That's from the video game also. And so for myself, like, when I first played the game way back then in 2021 or 2020, when it first came out, and I was just like siphoning through the radio stations, I heard that one. I'm like, oh, that's a really cute song. And so when I saw them play it throughout the show, I was like, whoever, or not whoever, but like, they knew what they were going to do with this song. Like, I feel like when they wrote that song, they're like, yeah, we'll put it in the anime as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. And so when you see the comments of it, it's like 2021. Oh, what a sweet song. 2023. I have emotional damage.
I mean, fair.
And, that scene where they're kind of in the air, and just like Lucy, like saying like what she was doing. She's like, I didn't want to see you die. I kept all this because I wanted to see you live. And David's like, all I ever want to do is get you out of here, get you out of the city. And oh my goodness, just them pouring it all out at the end there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the last bit of this episode is such a roller coaster, dude. Like, I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, there's no hope, right? Like, there's nothing you can see.
You think David's gonna do some anime protagonist stuff. Like, you're rooting for him.
Super Saiyan, or he's gonna do something stupid.
He's gonna do something, and then, they give you some small slivers here. David landing, next to Rebecca and Falco, and, him giving Lucy to them for them to, potentially escape, and we don't even get a small moment of reprieve for this reunion, because almost instantly Atom Smasher just comes on down and just splats Rebecca.
And maims Falco in the process.
Yeah, and bro, they're just being cruel to you at this point, because the way they basically do like a highlight of it from 3 different angles.
They just want to they just want to hammer home to point, like, hey, screw you.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, what's even worse, oh my god, when they show her corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to leave you, like, no doubts. Like, nope, she's
Gone. Done.
she is
Ring the bell.
gone. And, poor Falco just freaking unmatched, like, instantly gets taken care of, and David tries to go for it, and Atom Smasher's just toying. Like, we've seen David just do all this stuff in terms of, like, taking out military, security, and this one dude is just one step above him. Like, man. And then even Lucy's trying to hack into him, and okay, so that's to go back to my gameplay experience. Atom Smasher being unhackable was kind of funny for me in the anime, because the way I beat him in the game was I just basically kept frying out his brains, because my character was spec'd into hacking. And so when I saw that, it's like, wait, he's unhackable? I'm like, oh. How much of a nerd was my character then if I could hack through Atom Smasher?
I mean, you're just an overachiever, Miguel. Deal with it.
Trying to lighten up, and as Falco's driving Lucy away, Atom Smasher just has one of the most like deranged lines, like, none leave the slaughterhouse alive. And so David tries to basically buy time, and Smasher just starts ripping him to shreds.
Gotta ring the bell. I mean, it's not just that you kill, it's you kill with no restraint, because they don't need any.
Mm-hmm. And as David's last few moments are going on, we see kind of, flashbacks of the crew and how they all went out. And man, we see David's just what's left of his body, Smasher standing over him, saying, you know what, I did have a little fun with you. And gives him one thing, it's like, we could put your mind in a construct so you could be somewhat alive. And David just gives him the, like I care. And then, bang.
Yeah, I mean, he just wanted to make sure Lucy was safe, and that was it, man. That's all he needed.
Mm-hmm. And then we get a small epilogue, basically. Lucy on the moon, just walking out.
Yeah.
And, she imagines David. And
that's where it ends.
And the show ends.
And I will say, I'm glad we had the scene during the fight sequence where David and Lucy are together with the moon in the background.
Mm-hmm.
That scene meant a lot more to me than I thought it would mean.
Mm-hmm.
The epilogue was nice, but I think this was where it really sold it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a heavy ending, but it just plays with how that setting is. It's not a happy ending for anyone ever.
No, not at all.
And that's how the show ends.
And there's no season 2. There's no plans for anything further from that franchise, as far as I can tell.
At least not from the same studio. They did announce they're doing another Cyberpunk anime, but it's not going to be made with Trigger.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah. The creator of the original role-playing game, loved the show.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, dude, I love seeing like my ideas just in the big screen. Let me go ahead and try to see here. Project Red and Netflix are going to be working on the next one together.
I mean, that's something though, right?
Yeah, it's something, but not particularly with this story. Just another story set in the same world, which I am fine with.
Yeah.
Leave these characters as is. So, as of now, nothing with these set of characters. But Rizwan, your overall thoughts?
So, the ending is what really solidified this as a great anime for me. There were points in the middle where I'm like, okay, this is still a really good anime, but I felt like some of the characters were kind of dull, right? Like I thought, okay, they're a little bit too one-dimensional, kind of missing some characterization, not really fully hitting their potential. And then the ending comes, and those that survive to the ending, I mean, Rebecca, we've already talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Her character had nothing going, like no interest in me whatsoever. And then we get to the end, I'm like, damn. See, maybe not my favorite character, but like still pretty damn fantastic character at the end. Yeah, but for me, man, like this anime was quite a ride, and I did end up watching one or two episodes at the end in English just to get a flavor of it, and it was pretty darn good. I mean, I think honestly, this is meant to be watched in English more than Japanese because the English has felt better.
I watched, for this review series, I watched it in dub. So for my first go around, I watched the subbed. And so for this one, I watched it in dub. And props to all of the main actors. I love Giancarlo Esposito as Faraday. But then again, Giancarlo Esposito just has a great natural villain voice.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, that's Giancarlo Esposito is Gus from Breaking Bad, among other roles.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Yep.
Damn, that actually fits better than I thought it would.
Yeah. So the dub I thought was a fantastic dub. Really good. Zach Aguilar, I believe it was Zach Aguilar. Let me double check here. Yep, Zach Aguilar did a phenomenal performance as David. So genuinely great dub. For myself, a couple things. Did you ever watch the actual ending theme whenever the episodes would end?
Mm-mm.
So rewatch those, or rewatch it, and basically that ending is what happens to Lucy after her and Falco get away.
Oh.
Yeah, some things to watch on.
So like a bit of foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll have to go take a look at that.
Yeah.
I never watched anything like... I never watched the end credits or anything.
Yeah. And what other thing? When you... Netflix actually did an AMV of that song that plays during the ending.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of their most viewed videos on YouTube. When you go by most popular, it is their fourth most popular video that they've put up on their YouTube channel.
That's pretty lit.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, it's Edgerunners is great. Glad you actually went through with watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to watch it. I just never really thought about it too hard. Because there's a lot of things I'd like to watch, but I don't watch half of what I want to.
Right.
Such is the life of a podcaster, I guess, because there's only so many hours in a day, and you can't fit them all in, you know?
Right. Oh,
So, no, I'm glad you brought me this to watch. I think this is a solid 9 out of 10 for me, if I'm being honest with you.
yeah, I went with a 9.5 out of 10. I think some small pacing issues in the middle. I understand why they did what they did to kind of give it, to kind of help develop a few other characters with the dialogue they did. And again, it is a 10 out of anime, so there's only so much they can do. But when it came to the visuals and not just both the action sequences, but the smaller, more romance-focused sequences, the music, and then the voice acting, like, this is just a great watch, and always a recommendation from me when people say, hey, I want to watch an anime. I'm like, if you don't want to dedicate too much time, go give Edgerunners a look. It's great.
I will say, though, only watch this if you're not shy of, like, adult content, because there is a good bit of nudity. There's some fairly explicit scenes in here, and those type of things maybe a turn off to certain people. So if you're one of those people that don't like that kind of content, I would not watch this. But if you're cool with it, then definitely check it out.
No, for sure. Huge recommendation from us. Go check it out. Go check it out. Or if you're watching these, you've probably already checked it out. Go give it another whirl. But yeah, I think that wraps up our review on Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Any final words, Riz, before we sign off here?
Yeah, so this is actually our last podcast for the year 2024. This podcast will probably come out a day or two before Christmas, if I had to guess. Mm-hmm. Meaning we're not going to have anything coming out until the next year. So for those of you all that have been staying tuned to Anime Declassified in 2024, I'd like to give you guys all a special thank you for following our journey with Dragon Ball Daima, with Cyberpunk, and our various other things we've done this year. And I'm looking forward to next year because we're going to continue to do some cool stuff. We're going to be delving into new anime series as they come out, or maybe we'll visit some old ones like we did this time with Cyberpunk. Mm-hmm. But definitely thanks for everyone. I hope you guys are all having a happy holidays. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to y'all. And definitely have a happy New Year's. And we will see you guys in 2025 when we come back with Anime Declassified, hosted by AnimeSecrets.org. But until then, I'm Rizwan Merchant, and this is my good buddy Miguel Moreno, and we are signing out.